Hey, yo, what's your boy Sam Duke?
It's your man Ted McHale.
It's your boy Warren P.
And you'll listen to another great episode of You
You
Good,
You
good?
bruh?
good, bruh?
Good.
Chop, chop,
Uh,
chop it up.
but yeah, once again, we back. Thank you guys for joining us today. Before we get into the episode, please like, share, subscribe, follow us on IG, You Good Bruh Podcast, Facebook, You Good Bruh Podcast, Twitter, You Good Bruh Pod, and share our YouTube with everyone. Like, share, subscribe, please, so
And
that
leave a
people can get.
comment too.
Oh yeah, leave a comment, interact with us, send us
For sure.
messages if you have questions, concerns, comments. You want
Show
things that you
ideas.
want, show
Yeah.
ideas. You can always bring that to us, and we'll definitely do our best to accommodate whatever requests that come out there. So we are in the season, and we are not talking,
Yes, sir.
football season, even though it is football season, it just started. But we are in the season that we have to deal with every 4 years. If you've
Yeah.
been following the show, we've been doing the show about 5 years now.
Jeez.
Uh, yeah, crazy, right? And you know, now we come to think about it, it's like, man, we back at another election season. And like I said, for those who've been following, it's been contentious on here before during election season, and
Historically.
so yeah, historically, and and that's a part of that's a part of the process of what we do here. We have real conversations with real men. We're not monolithic, and so a part of that is real disagreements, right? And so we're in a space right now where people are putting up their opinions. People are more opinionated in election years than normally. There's a lot more at stake for people. During election years. You never know what people have gone through within the past year, which makes them lean a certain way, depending on what's going on in their lives. And so, with that being said, I'm sure that a lot of people are having a lot of discourse with friends, family, co-workers, neighbors,
Strangers.
Yeah,
strangers.
for sure.
Like it's getting the tension is rising, and it's getting the way it usually does during around this time. And so we're gonna kind of just talk about how we're coping and dealing with it, what that looks like from our standpoint, and what it looks like personally, in our lives. And so let's get straight to it. How is election season for you, fellas?
Mm. More, you want to go first, or you want me to go?
Yeah, I'll lighten the mood with this one. Election season is the same for me as it is every season. I don't care. Like, I care, but I don't
Okay.
care. Because in regards to people that look like me, we're not thought of first. So if you're not thinking about people that look like myself, I'm not as invested as others are. Now, don't get me wrong. There are programs from certain sides that, do help out people that look like me. So I'm very appreciative of that. So I'll get that out the way first. But I crack jokes. I like to hear from both sides of the spectrum. It's funny to me because sometimes Jay-Z has a line about when two fools argue from a distance, you can't tell who is who. Well, when you argue with a fool from a distance, you can't tell who is who. And I
Mhm.
see it every day on my timeline, and I'm a troll sometimes. So I'll agree with one side and just say something to the other side just to see how they respond. Like, there's a common joke around people that know me. Some people think I'm a Trump fan. No, I'm not. I think he is extremely dumb when it comes to these issues, but I like to see how pissed off people get when you agree with anything when it comes to Trump. And for the Trump supporters out there, I'll make my jokes from a Democratic side or say something just to rile them up, just to see I like to see how far people will go to push their point. So election season is always a joyous time for me. I'll pass it on to Mikhail.
He's, he said it's a joyous time for the trolls.
The
this
troll.
this is when the trolls come out to play.
Troll king. So he's like,
it,
opportunity.
it's funny though that you say that. It's not. I I do troll too, but I lean the way I lean. It just is what it is. But I do understand the need sometimes to just bring some levity to the situation and just be like, you know what? Why? I already know where I'm going with this, but let me go ahead and get in on some of the action every once in a while.
I'm definitely not a troll. I'm more. I mean, first and foremost, it's hard for me to identify as left or right when you black, um, because I can't really point to where the issues that are unique to our community have been addressed specifically. Even though we've raised our hands, say, "Hey, this is happening to us. What are y'all gonna do about it?" And the George Floyd Act is still sitting on somebody's desk somewhere, not being voted on by either party. However,
John Lewis.
John Lewis Act, right? Uh, Still sitting there. Couldn't even honor the man by passing that. And there's nothing against any other group in the legislation, right? There's nothing against white American, Asian American, Native American, Indian American, however you identify, Spanish American. It's nothing in there against anybody. It is just a protection, right? And they couldn't vote to protect us. So in that regard, I guess I'm forced to be independent since they're not listening to us. But that does not make me blind to what's going on. So for me, I'm the type of person that, if you leave me alone, I leave you alone. Period, point blank. But if you mess with me, then I'm gonna show up and try to match your energy. That's just the street perspective of it. And one party may not do anything for me, but the other party is doing something against me. Like their legislation or their perspective is a sense of control over my body and the bodies of people that I love. And I don't think anybody should control anybody's body. Like it's your body, your business. And if you tell me it's something about Christianity, I'm gonna call BS on that, because the Christian belief is an individual relationship between God and you. And yes, you can definitely speak what God has done for you in order to bring people to see that belief as possibly something that they should follow as well. It's still an individualistic perspective. When judgment day comes, the only soul that's going to be on trial is yours, because you're not going to be witness to anybody else's experience. So I'm forced to vote Democratic, because Democrats may not do anything for us, but they're not spouting legislation or authoring legislation that's going to be against me and my family. That's what it boils down to. So in this vote cycle, it's really difficult to maintain relationships with people that I known that want to vote Republican, because to me, your vote is against me and my family. You're trying to put people in office that want to harm people that look like me, that want to either put us in our place, make America what it was again, or put us in the ground, or hang us from trees, or whatever it is their preference is from back then. So it's really, how do you maintain a relationship with somebody that can be act oblivious to your struggle and call them a friend? That's my point. That's what it really boils down to. Am I really losing that? I don't have
Man,
Sam. That's what
man, I mean, it's the interesting question. I think it's the interesting question when you're thinking about it from a standpoint of like, you can ultimately you can see that both ways, right? Because proximity, geography, you know, where you live, where you stay, who you live with, what your finances look like. It's so
Mhm.
many different aspects of politics that impact things in your life. It really just depends on the hierarchy of where you see those things, right? Um, and I'm not trying to make excuses for people that clearly overlook bigotry, clearly overlook racism, clearly overlook harm to other people that just don't look like them. However, I because of your stance of how you're saying that you're independent, I'm in the same space, right? Um,
Mhm.
and in knowing that I'm in that space, I ask myself why I'm in that space, right? And the reason I always say why I'm in that space is because nobody wants the right answer. It everyone like the United States is set up on polarization, right? If even when we take politics out of it, just put it into whatever you want. We insert polarization into everything, whether it be Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. They don't even play the same position. We're gonna compare apples and oranges, right?
Right.
Because we need
Yeah.
some polarization to make things move, right? And that's the way that we've operated for a long time. I don't really even think that's the way our founding fathers intended it to be, but I think that once the powers that be saw that democracy was going to be the way that we move, they say, okay, we need to develop power structures enough so that you know if if we run from one power, we can run from one power structure to the other,
Yeah.
and that way we don't have to necessarily ever really deal with the raising up of people and the caring of people and the actual, because what ends up happening is each side only gives you enough, right? You'll talk to people that used to be a Democrat and you can talk to people that used to be a Republican. Ask them why they moved, is because they were only getting so much on either side, right? And eventually you're gonna need a little more of the other thing that you've been neglecting, right? And or life may, for instance, you'll hear people say, "Oh, you know what? I was a Republican until my father got sick and Obamacare saved him." You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And that was the only means, a mechanism. He didn't even want to be on Obamacare, but that was the only mechanism that we could use in order to save him. And it's like, why should that be a left, right? Why should that
You're
be
right.
like that's a human
Saving
thing,
lives
right?
should be everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
You're
should
right.
be. If you ask anybody, if you could save this life or not save this life, due to taxation, whatever, would you do it? Most people be like, yeah, I'd pay an extra $100 on my
Oh yeah.
on,
Yeah.
on my yeah, I pay extra $100 a year in order to ensure that this person lives. But for some reason, we don't see it that way, and that's why I said nobody really wants the right answer. So I have to look at it from your standpoint as well. It's like a mitigating risk thing, right? It's
Yeah.
like, okay, what is the biggest threat to my family? What is the thing that I have to deal with outside of the walls of my home that I don't want to have to deal with, right?
Right.
And make a decision based on that. And so um I say all of that to say, even then you still have to struggle because you think you're making the best choice for yourself internally and your people around you, but then you have people around you that disagree. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, so because you're making me think about this, because we live in these neighborhoods, and I would like to believe that my neighborhood is a little bit more diverse across the board, right? Um, and there are clearly some people that support the previous administration, and they show their support on their vehicles and in their yards. And it's like, should what how should I talk to this person if I ran into them? Would they even talk to me? That there's the other part.
That's a
Um,
that's a good question.
and I don't have the impression that, based on the signage, that there's somebody that I would want to interact with, or that I would want my family to run into, but I live 2, 3 doors down from you. That bless you. That's
Thank you.
kind of where it becomes intolerable. Like it gets that intolerant space because I like to believe, in my mind, I'm an accepting person. No matter your walk in life, I don't judge you. I try to, be objective, to ensure that I'm not mistreating people. However, when you are, you know, 3 doors down from somebody that would support the previous administration, the new people, the new grifters that have been put on that team, and you're still with that, bruh. It's like, how do you how do you resolve that to not be on guard for them? Because in essence, everything that they're pushing into the media, they're promising violence, either if they win or if they don't win. Is at least I'm just speaking from what I've seen. If
Yeah,
somebody's seen something else, by all means, correct me, point me to it.
Yeah,
But
I'll jump in there because
okay,
let's see. Now, mind I'm voting for who I'm voting for. I don't like to say who I'm voting for, but look at me, you can tell who I'm voting for. But I've had conversations with people who support the previous administration. And once again, when I say I look at things from a perspective of like, at the end of the day, I don't give a fuck about. I don't think any of them have our best interests at hand. Maybe it's on the docket, but it's not at the forefront. So I can sit back and have conversations with both sides. So let's say Trump supporters. From what I see, how the media portrays Trump supporters are racist, bigots, ignorant. They want death to blacks, death to anybody who don't look rich and white. And for me, I know how the game is played because I know how they paint Democrats as well, the other side, Democrats as well. So I like to have a conversation, have some. It's like recently I had a conversation with a Trump supporter. Went very well. Didn't seem as if the way they try to put everybody in the same bubble wasn't that. We had a conversation about voting, who they're voting for, who I may potentially vote for. I could just tell by the conversation that they, well, two other Trump supporters as well were around, that they kind of have that same animosity or lies being told by one side versus the other, to whereas they stand firm in what they believe in. They're like, hey, how are you brainwashed by this and that? Because I was in the room. It was Democrats versus Republicans. I was at a
yeah.
fantasy draft, and I'm in the middle, egging each side. Oh, you're brainwashed. They're telling you this, they're telling you that, and they want you to believe this about this person and that person. Like, how can you even fathom that this is what we want? Like, well, this is what they're saying, and Fox News is fake, CNN is fake, like ABC is fake, Kamala is this, Trump is that. And I'm sitting there looking, and I'm like, man, like, y'all don't realize y'all have so much alike, but at the same are so much alike, want some of the same, majority of the same things. But what gets highlighted, and I say this about religion in the same way, if you look at the Quran, you look at the Bible, the golden rules are pretty much the same, but in the midst of it, there's a good 10 to 20% that's a little bit different, and that's what people are going to wars for. Forget, hey, we want to uplift, each other. We want to do this to prosper, this and that. We're going to focus on these areas that separate us and highlight that. And now this is just, once again, on my end, I don't give a fuck who anybody votes for. I don't care, because at the end of the day, neither side has the interest of black people at the most important part. So for me, it's different. But go ahead, Sam. I see you.
I was saying it's funny because as you say that, I'm starting to like it. This is what's the most interesting part about this election, right? The most interesting part about this election is that I remember how ridiculous I used to think. I'm gonna speak from my perspective. I voted Democrat majority of my life. I came close to voting Republican once. Never happened though. But um, you know, I'll say this election was interesting to me because I remember how I used to think the Republican Party was so dangerous, right? And and then I look at the new Republican Party that we're looking at right now, and I'm like, now this is dangerous. Now I'm looking at the old Republicans, like they actually were not as unreasonable as I think. Not to say that, I'm not gonna sit here like George Bush was a saint, or what I'm saying, or Mitt Romney is who I would have voted for, because if I wanted to, I would have, right? But at the
Mhm.
same time, I'm looking at it from two aspects. This is just me. From two standpoints. One, they had the opportunity to check it and they didn't. That's number one, right? When these powers weren't strong in the voting class or the voting system in the United States, these old Republicans who now would not even consider themselves as on pace or on par with the Republican Party as it is today, had an
Mhm.
opportunity to check it, but they didn't. And then now it also makes me look at, okay, let me go back and look and see what some of their policies look like back in the day. And I would say it makes me feel as if we're like what you're saying, we're more the same than we are different. But the problem is there are some, like you said, that 20%, those outlier things, whatever it may be, whether it be whether or not I give a damn about black people, or whether or not I give a damn about my neighbors and social programs that could potentially benefit more of people that have less or have more need in the country. Those type of things, we differ, and those are the things we focus on, right? And so it's interesting to me that in an instant, 4 years, old presidents, old chief of staffs, old VPs can all say we can actually all get on one accord here, and we can all decide that this is the better thing for our country, right?
Yeah.
And so it's interesting to me that it takes an extreme thing like what we're dealing with right now to get people to get on the same page about what's most important, right? And that's the interesting part about what's going on this election, because you have all the former presidents, all former vice presidents, most of the former candidates for the Republican Party. You have lieutenant
Not
governors in Republican
Republican
states,
mayors.
Republican mayors. All of them are saying, "Nah, we gotta all come together and put this country in a space where we all agree."
Hold on. 90% of his staff, the people that had to work one to one with this individual, 90% of them said that they're not supporting him.
Uh, can I,
So
can I add something real quick?
Yeah,
I just want to say something that I seen once again from the outside looking in, because y'all are more versed in this than me. The thing I always laugh at is I do hear Republicans say, yes, we would like to have a different representative, but unfortunately, this is who we have. And I also, in that argument with my guys, I laughed at how somebody had made a point and they were Democratic. It's like, look, for a good 3 years, we said, hey, where's the VP at? And then in a split second, it was like, oh yeah, she's fit. Because I was like, I've heard a lot of Democrats shit on VP Harris. But once again, I'm not versed in it. So for me on the outside looking at, I'm like, okay, you got one side that really don't fuck with, who their representative is. Then you have another side that I've heard from multiple people shit on. Once the old, as the man said, Sleepy Joe was out of here. It's like, oh yeah, this person is fit to be the leader of the free world after we just shitted on this person for 3 years straight. And this is a common thing I read. So I'm sitting on the back end like,
I'm gonna
it's
submit
just
to you.
hilarious to me.
I'm gonna tell you something, bro, and I want you to kind of, I want you to take it on personally. Like,
I won't, but I got you.
oh no, I mean, I'm saying take it from a personal perspective. You were a black man in America, right? Have you ever been cheated on inappropriately, like just randomly, like bad shit happened to you, and you can't really point to nothing else except for the fact that you black? You ever had that kind of stuff happen to people you know or yourself?
Yeah.
Right. So how come we don't give her the benefit of the doubt that that's what that is? Because if you look at the structure, of the
Out of respect for
Democratic
my
Party,
wife, I cannot answer that question, but off mic, we will have a discussion because
I'm
there was
saying,
something
like,
said by another person that I was like, it's convenient, but
so I'm just simply saying
I
that
will continue.
I'm just saying that when we take on the opinions that people have of individuals without, doing the structured research. Like I think about what D.L. Hughley said at the DNC, and he was one of the main proponents spreading those negative stories about her uh, from the time that she said she wanted to be president. 4 years ago when she was running against Joe. And I think that what I will say is I don't think it's fair for us to come across the table and say, "Oh, is you conveniently black?"
I didn't say that.
No,
Well,
no, I'm saying,
well,
but no, I'm saying like that's the when we're talking about our community, it's disingenuous to think that this woman has had less of black experience because her mother's Indian. When we know our community, when you go to the mall and you ain't white, you're getting treated non-white. When you look at her matriculation, how do we come to this association that she's not black? Like I just, that's the part that I struggle with, because her daddy is black. Her
no,
daddy is Jamaican. Her
let
daddy.
me expand.
I'm only
on
gonna
it.
say I'm gonna let you finish, Sam.
Mhm.
But once again, I'm not knocking her. I do think she is fit to be the leader of the free world.
I've
But
said,
the Dr. Umars of the world would tell you why.
I'm saying, but what
That's
is
why
that?
for some people
My
it's hard
point.
to grasp.
This is no,
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. I will, and I love Dr. Umar. I do. I love Dr. Umar, but there are some aspects of the Dr. Umar esque ilk that feel as if they, for instance, why are those type of people never in a leadership position? It's because they don't understand. They try to play the game from outside of the game. Like they're literally people who trying to play the game from the outside of the game. And the thing about people that play the game from the outside of the game is that they are never held accountable for anything. You get what I'm saying? People that play the game within the confines of the game, they get held accountable every step of the way, because they have people that they have to respond to. They have people they have to answer to. They have people they're actually responsible for. You get what I'm saying? Dr. Umar get on YouTube. He can say what the fuck he want.
right.
He can say whatever the fuck he wants to say. And I hate the fact that this moves the needle for people, because anything he says, he doesn't have to be held responsible for any of it.
Right. There's
You get what I'm
nobody
saying?
voting. There's nobody voting.
That's why he's able to have a school, collect money for a school for 7, 10, 11, 12 years that is never opened yet. Not to say that it won't open. Not to say that it won't open. I'm not even saying it won't open. I'm just saying somebody who had to be held accountable, they would have shut that shit down a long time ago. They would say, give refunds. It's a scam. You get what I'm saying? But because you don't have anybody to hold you accountable, you can say, do, and interact however you want. That's one aspect of that argument. Other aspect of the argument is I understand the lack of education in this system runs rampant through both sides of the party. It's not just one side where education is not available or not used the way that it should be. Because even in that space where you're talking about, oh, everybody was shitting on her, they don't know where she's at. Look, man, let me tell you something about the United States of America, okay, and the government. There is a website for every goddamn body. If you want to know what the fuck somebody's up to, you can just go vp.gov and it will give you her schedule for the week, every week of every damn day, outside of classified meetings and briefings that we shouldn't know about anyway, about what type of work that she's done. The problem is we are anti-education than a motherfucker in this country. And that's what's running rampant on both sides. I'm not gonna go. It's on both sides.
What's the name of that book, Sam? What was that book?
Death of Expertise.
Thank you.
That is a great book. If you have not read it, if you have not read it, you need to read it. I tell people, this book came out in 2016 before Trump won the presidency. So I want you to understand when you read this book that it was him outlining how it even got to the point that somebody that was on The Apprentice could even run for the highest position in the world and become one of the highest positions in the world. And he broke it down from every aspect of the way our society moves. And education was chapter 4, I believe. That chapter by itself can be a Bible for what we're dealing with right now. Now, back to the aspect of the understanding of this one black woman being conveniently black. See, you don't understand, and you do understand because you're black. But the attacks on who you are you don't get those until you're actually doing something that's worth a damn to people. Now, back in 2006, back in 2005, back in 2004, back in 2003, when they was bringing this black woman to come sit amongst black leaders to have a black conversation of the state of the union of black people that wasn't televised in, all over the place. It was only on black networks, on black stations with black people that were just plugged into the black experience. I would wish a nigga like Dr. Umar would show up so he could be held accountable, but he probably stayed out of those areas. But anyway, that is the type of shit that a black person should be at and understand that this woman was black back then. Now, when she runs for positions, she's running for a position for everybody. You get what I'm saying? And I wish she would be unapologetically black, but I'll be honest with you, when we talk about playing the rules within the game, you have to learn that there's a certain way you have to play the rules between the game, right? And that's why when we talk about black people not being on the forefront of the movement or the forefront of how we're moving, we got to understand when she sat back and they quoted her out of context, by the way, when she said, yeah, you think I'm going to do something just for black people? No, I'm going to do things for all people, but the things that I do, trust and believe, they will impact black people significantly. When you hear people say, I'm going to give $25,000 to first homeowners, who the fuck you think they talking about? First time home buyers, right? 25,000.
Who is that?
Who don't have land to pass down to one another? Who doesn't have? Who's getting their first homes? You get what I'm saying? There's a lot of people out here that get their first home from their grandma. They get their first home from their daddy. They get their first home. We don't have that, right? And so when you hear things like that, we have to go and look and see who would be positively impacted by something like this, right? And so the fact that I hate that people can hear coded language when it's a dog whistle against black people, but they can never hear a positive dog whistle to black people. You get what I'm saying? People can understand when people are taking underhanded shots at African Americans, but they don't understand when people are saying, "Look, wink, wink, I got something for you here, but I can't say it's for you because they're gonna come for it."
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Now, when we're just coming out of a time where they just got rid of affirmative action in schools. They just got rid of they're trying to get they tried to, but they failed because the sister is smart. They tried to get rid of nonprofits that benefit black people. And so the sister said, you know what, we're not taking it to the Supreme Court because we know what you're trying to do, and we're not gonna give you the avenue to do it. Shut it down, Joe. And that's what we did. And so you gotta understand that ultimately there are underlying things that are being put in place, but because we don't think, we don't read, we don't understand, we don't see how it could benefit us. Not speaking to you, brother, but speaking to the lack of education on both sides. I rest what I had to say, but thank you for giving me this moment.
Oh, for
It's
sure.
all
Get your
yours.
shit
Well,
off.
I was just gonna
Get
add
your
on.
shit
I was
off,
just gonna
brother.
say this. You spoke truth to light, because I didn't even know she was Indian until this election cycle.
Me neither. Had no clue. Had
She's
no clue.
always,
Well, it's a little bit before then. A little bit before then.
what I mean by that is, like, it has never been an issue. I had never cared. You know, I was listening to the politician. The race of the politician was really it was non-consequential to me. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when it first came across the table, you know, she was trying to run and she was a senator. Like, I didn't know anything about her. I just saw a sister that happened to be, you know, AKA, that went to Howard University. That's it. That's all I really knew about it. The Democratic Party didn't get behind her, so they didn't push a narrative. They didn't make sure that the public knew who she was because they had somebody else in mind. That's not that dissimilar from what happened with Barack. I ain't know nothing about Barack. He was a senator. He was an attorney. I didn't know anything about him until he spoke at the DNC, and he spoke so eloquently, he won people over. They had no interest in him being who he became. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and then
That's true.
we tried to attack his blackness. Like,
Essentially, he stole Hillary's spot. To be honest, essentially, in 2008, he stole her spot.
I give him that.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't learn from our history. We don't walk in the spirit of understanding and paying attention to the patterns. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether she's black, half black, Indian, how she identifies, whether she's married to a white man or not. The question is, will her policies help you, your family, your community? Or will her policies take away from you? You know what I mean? And that's, I haven't seen where it takes away. No, he ain't pointed it out. He started talking about communities doing stuff that they ain't doing just to distract from the fact that he doesn't have a plan. You know,
I think we knew that.
But I'm saying we knew that. His population didn't, and now they're trying to make excuses for it. You know, the people that follow him, like I said, they stay close to my home. So I'm very on edge. I am watching them because, like I said earlier, they promised bloodshed no matter what.
Yeah. And I'll say this. This is another warning to
you think that's all of them, a majority of them, or a minority?
Let me be clear. If you either with them or you're not. They've drawn the line in the sand, not me. That's a question you have to ask them.
What I say is they have shown that that's not a deal breaker for them.
I do think he has a. I do think he has a radical fan base, but I do
no, not even the radical fan base. Even the people, even the others that have decided, you know what, I just need my taxes lowered. What I'm saying to you is they're saying that this country burning down is not a deal breaker for them.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? That's the perspective I'm getting at. Even the ones that's like, I just vote for lower taxes. Get it? But what I'm saying to you is you don't have to worry about taxes if you don't have if you have anarchy, if there's no government to deal with. Now you got to worry about motherfuckers just coming into your home and taking whatever they want.
Right. Which is what they've been preparing for anyway.
Because whatever happens at the top is going to happen everywhere else. And then the reality of the situation is, if they can attempt to overthrow a government, I'll say this because this is the thing. I'm a Haitian American man. You know, Americans to me are just so spoiled because y'all have had a government that's been functioning and it's functional and have had elections that are real elections. Ballots ain't, they say ballots are in the streets in the United States, but we know the truth. That's not the case. In Haiti, you get the presidential election, you walk out of the precinct, you'll catch your ballot floating in the fucking wind.
Mm.
You get what I'm saying? That's a place that don't have true democracy at all. Literally, people will go vote. The motherfuckers will take your ballot and put that shit outside. You just go, you pick it up outside and see that your vote didn't count, right? Didn't matter. And speaking from a country that doesn't even have a president, hasn't had a president for what 2.5 years now. I'm just saying we're spoiled in not understanding the impacts of people actually trying to overthrow a government.
Yeah.
And the fact that it even got close to that is speaking to the spoiled nature that we have, and the fact that it's not even clear at this point that Donald Trump won't win. You get what I'm saying? The fact that it's even close that he may even be able to squeak one out is a testament to how spoiled this country is because they don't understand what comes with anarchy.
Not
They
this
don't.
generation.
They don't understand. They haven't seen it, and maybe they need to see it. But I would not like for my children to see that. I would not like for my children to suffer in that way, and I would hope that they could pick the the country ain't perfect, but I would hope they would be able to pick up and say, look, that ain't what we want.
Yeah,
Talking about lower taxes.
yeah, because I'll be honest with you, his tax plan has lowered. It lowered my return. It lowered my refund
Me too.
because I typically had a child tax credit that was reduced to almost nothing, which means I got back nothing, which means I couldn't put money back into the economy, and my money ended up going over to Israel and Ukraine.
Say it's looking for me right now. So,
but you understand what I'm saying? Like when if you want to talk economics, middle class families or lower middle class, I'm not even gonna claim high class, like lower middle class had less money over the last 2 years because of his tax plan that was written and had to be followed through. It's ending next year. You understand what I'm saying? And they were like, well, why didn't Joe do this? That's not how it works. Like
That's not how it works. They gotta understand.
When you submit, that's what I'm saying. People need to embrace civics. Education in general, but understand civics. And it's like that's why it's hard to have the conversation. I'll be honest with you. That is why it becomes infuriating to have these conversations, because you did all your homework and you come to the table with facts and figures and able to provide references, and the conversation will end with, well, let's just agree to disagree. No, motherfucker. Like, why are you? What in the hell?
They ain't controlling their emotions.
I mean, it's just like agree to disagree with facts.
Well, that's the thing. It's like you created a space where alternative facts is a thing, and one thing that I give Trump that I feel like if he had a master plan, his master plan worked where he took what the definition of a fact is, and it was used to be black and white, and he made it gray, right?
Oh,
and he made it so that you cannot present new evidence, and because it used to be learning, that's a part of learning, right? If you present new evidence to someone, and like I see people post AI produced videos, and I'm like, God, here's the actual video. And they won't change their mind, right? They're like, oh, Kamala is drunk in this video. I was like, bro, that's AI, dog. That's not her. Like, this is the actual video of what she said and what was going on. She's still a drunk. It's like, what?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you presented me with something. I showed you it was not real. It was fake. Somebody created something to manipulate your mind. and I presented you something to say, look, man, this is what actually occurred. They won't move off of that. That doesn't
I,
move them anymore.
I'm gonna say this. I heard a person say, "Why do most people not change?" What do you humor me? Why do you think most people don't change?
Well, right now, I think
Just in life. I'm not even talking about the election. Just in life. Why most people
Oh,
don't
I can
change?
answer that. That's so cognitive dissonance is a thing. It's a real thing. And it's based off of what happens is that you may have an initial reaction to someone that's part of your reptilian brain, the one that tells you to fight, flight, or freeze. So you are introduced with a new idea. You're examining it from a threat perspective. Once you've determined what the threat is, you're gonna at that point do confirmation biases because your brain doesn't want to do extra work. I need to assess whether this is a threat or not. So you'll find evidence, quick evidence, quick, like, I always say, if you were looking at high grass and you were walking around in India and you saw orange, black, and white, what do you think that is? Well, quick evidence would be, well, I know a tiger is orange, black, and white, and I know they live in India, and I know they're in the wilderness, and I'm in the wilderness. So it's probably a tiger. Everything you do from that point on will be based on that. And me coming up to you and saying, hey, man, those are a bunch of monarch butterflies. You're going to be like, bitch, you walk over there and see. Even though I presented a rational response, your dissonance, your cognitive dissonance would be like, I'm not doing it. Right. And that's how you get locked in. People get locked into their beliefs because they've already established this is a threat. And that's really what it boiled down to.
I had a different answer, but I like that one too. I heard somebody say this. Said, I don't believe most people will change because in order for you to change, you would have to admit that you were doing something wrong. And most people don't like to admit that to themselves or to anyone that they're wrong.
That they're wrong.
And that does kind of align to what you said. That aligns with what you said. But I'm a firm believer, like going back to what Sam said, most people don't like to admit that they're wrong.
Hold on, Warren. I'm gonna say this. That's more of that's not the majority of people. That's a subset of people. And I'm not saying those subsets have mental maladies, but that's more tied to the narcissism that's in everybody. Everybody has narcissism. What I'm talking about is there are white people that have never met black people, but will believe that Haitians are eating pets.
Yeah.
And never been to Haiti, never met a Haitian person, don't know any black people. You see black people as a threat. They meet someone like Sam. The work that he does, he's interacted with families before. And they'd be like, man, Sam's a great guy. We went to eat at this at PF Chang's and this, that, and the third. We eat like the same kind of Chinese food. And then they found out later that Sam was Haitian. That's what I'm talking about. That moment is like, oh, wait, if Sam is Haitian and he didn't eat dog in front of me, and he's really nice, and I felt like he was one of the most giving people and intelligent people I've talked to in a long time. Oh, shit. That's how you dismiss cognitive dissonance. You can't do it when the person's anxious. You can't do it when a person is triggered. You can't have these conversations online because the parties that you're talking to have been triggered by the topic. It has to happen when they're not in a state of anxiety. And we, as a society, are constantly anxious. I have a belief. Now, my belief is based on what they said, that if he wins the election, they're going to mobilize the military and the police to start deporting people. What do you think is going to happen when you try to snatch people out of their houses all at once? Of course. Bloodshed.
Out of flour bringing.
Right.
And not just that. How, do you know? You know how many mistakes will be made?
You say mistakes. You say
mistakes. What mistakes is what I put in quotations. I put it in quotes.
Okay.
Because Warren, you look Dominican. You could be Haitian. Mikhail, I know a couple Haitians that look like you. What I'm saying is that's the type of thing that we don't understand, that out of all we are one. You get what I'm saying? When they're making these statements, these blanket statements about we about to, do you know there are actual Americans that have been deported that they thought were Haitians?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's actually occurred, and we ain't even started the roundup
Or
yet.
thought was Mexican.
Thought they was Mexican. They actually are American, and they get dropped off in Mexico somewhere. They have no ties, no nothing, and it ain't until they get there that they realize, we done made a mistake. And those are the, and anything that they can do to the few, they can do to the many. And those are the things. Anything they can do to the few, they can do to the many. And so those are the things that we have to take a look at and say, hey, man, look, Republican, Democrat, independent, in between, tall, small, whatever, we got to understand we have to defend what makes sense.
Right.
What makes sense. Get out of the political, trap. Because that everybody's going to be like, Democrats saying he's brainwashed you, Republicans are saying the media has brainwashed you.
Fake news.
And all I gotta say is like, look, man, think about. He said fake news. It's just think about what makes sense and understand why they don't want the right answer. They don't want the right answer because they're saying these Haitians are eating cats and dogs, but what the Haitians are actually doing
Crazy.
is what they're actually doing in that neighborhood. And I think ABC did a special about it months before all of this shit came out. There are manufacturing jobs in Springfield, Ohio that they have not been able to fill. Tens of thousands of jobs.
Right.
And these owners of these manufacturing plants, remember, Trump said he was bringing manufacturing back. He didn't do it. Biden did it with his infrastructure deal. And the plant boom is going. We have 50% more plants now than we had in 2020 in the Midwest. The Midwest is making a comeback like nobody's ever seen. And they don't have enough workers to work at these plants. And so these companies are paying more in taxes, not less in taxes,
H2A.
more in taxes in H-2A visas in order to hire Haitians to do the work. The farmers in the Midwest are hiring migrant workers using H-2A visas because all of the jobs that they're taking, nobody wants. They cannot find they have to prove that they have tried using advertising dollars, bonuses, anything that they can to get Americans to do this work before they can get a visa to have a migrant go. And we
ain't an Instagram job though, dog.
But understand that when you look at the attack, and that's what it feels like at this point. When you look at the attack on these communities, we're funding this. Like, these people are not coming here for free. Like, there's money attached to it. And mind you, these are not illegal immigrants. The issue is supposed to be illegal immigration.
Now they're coming out. They done moved the bar. They done moved the goalposts. Now these are legal. They're immigrants that are here legally that they have a problem with.
Oh, that's the game, baby.
I'm
push the bar always.
At the end of the day, what made America great, or what makes America great, is immigration. And what I mean by that is, hell, Chicago was founded by a Haitian immigrant. The city of Chicago was founded by a Haitian immigrant.
Jean-Jacques Dussable.
Thank you. And I'm gonna give you something even crazy. Like, you know what Chef Boyardee is, right?
Yeah.
Y'all familiar with Chef Boyardee? The ravioli.
Eat his
in
food
the cans. Yeah. He was an immigrant. He was a 17-year-old.
He's a real person.
He's a real person. Hector. His name was Hector Boyardee. He was Italian, so you knew Hector was an Italian name. But Hector Boyardee, 17 years of age, came through Ellis Island, which means he just hopped on a boat, came to the island, and got processed. He didn't let the government know in advance he was coming. He didn't have to come. He wasn't coming from a war-torn country where he was at risk. Matter of fact, this country was the one that was tied with sitting with Hitler, Italy, and Japan, and Germany. They were the triad. So here he comes from a warring country. He's able to go through Ellis Island, 17 years old, no parents with him, right? Work in a kitchen, and brought recipes from his old country, and later was able to, create a brand that we grew up in as kids. All this stuff that makes America came from immigrants. That's my point.
Yeah, it's a melting pot.
It's. I don't know if I really embraced that. I will say that
Bro-
we're more like an onion than a melting pot.
Man, I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna add to what you're saying. I always tell people when they start talking immigration, I think I'm done with this topic once I say this. Reagan, Bush,
Boo.
Clinton, Bush,
Boo.
Obama, Trump,
Mhm.
now Biden, right? All of those people were having immigration conversations, right? I named Republicans, I named Democrats. The border still ain't closed. And the reason being is we live in a capitalistic society.
That's right.
What made this country
Fact.
what it was slavery. When we talk about inflation, because people love inflation, we'll talk economics. Okay, bet. Let's talk, right? Let's talk economics.
Talk that money, Sam.
If they close down the border and don't let immigrants come in and do migrant work, majority of migrants are working for 200% less than minimum wage. That I'm just saying, go look it up. I don't want to talk about it. Go look that shit up. Majority of migrants are making 200% less than what the minimum wage is. And with that being said, that means they're working for less than what you would work for, period, anywhere in this country, right?
Mm-hmm.
They are doing what work? Farm work. They are doing manufacturing work. They're doing the work that when you go to the grocery store, which y'all are complaining about right now. When you go to the grocery store, you pick up them grapes and they $2.99 a pound or $1.99 a pound. That's a lot. It's expensive, right?
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if they had my black ass in there picking them damn grapes. I'm telling you, because I'm gonna get paid minimum wage at least.
Unless they lock your ass up.
Unless they lock you up.
And then you end up doing it through the prison.
That's the other side of it, right? And so what I'm
Yep.
saying to you is people don't understand. Inflation is going up, but it has gone up less in the United States than anywhere else. And you wonder why. Like, why is it that America's inflation is still at one of the lowest paces of every modern country there is in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And that is because there's still a chattel slavery class, people. It's there. And the reality of the situation is, believe it or not, you don't want it to end. You can't afford for it to end.
Right.
And that's just the reality of the situation. So while you're talking shit about immigrants and you're making it sound like immigration is just, such a inconvenience for you, this economy is propped up on that labor.
Well, I'm gonna add this, and we can let it go.
Our jobs.
Let me tell you something. You wonder why the push for robots has been so strong. Because the reality is they are afraid of immigrants that don't look like them. And that's why racism is a unique mental health issue. Like you will make choices that go against your best interests because of this anxiety that you have. And I was looking at the other day, I was like, they are really integrating robots into everything that these low-cost jobs would be. Like the jobs that you have to, put a human hand on that are low end, they still maintain or they are supported through the prison system, which, that was a big push in terms of let's strengthen our prison systems. We need to punish, the party of law and order was pushing privatizing prisons. And this is why, because there's a profit associated with it. And at the end of the day, prisons have become our second mental health institution. So if you have a crisis, They're either gonna put you in prison or they're gonna kill you.
Yep.
Like it's insane that like people are really not seeing this, and it's in red. It's in black and white.
They don't want to see it.
You
That's
know,
the thing with majority of this shit. People love a beautiful lie. That's life.
Yeah, but they're not painting a beautiful lie. They're not coming back with how it should be. You can't tell me lower taxes means that this country is going to be better, meaning socially, meaning that we're not going to be over policed, that we're not going to start to allow or continue to allow rich people get away with crimes while the people that are not rich get punished to the full extent of the law.
Mm-hmm.
Like that stuff is, you cannot just keep excusing that because they had a good attorney. Like that's not a system that supports law and order. That just supports classism. And
Capitalism.
I'm not
baby.
with it. Like I said,
Yeah.
one party ain't doing nothing
Money
to
up,
me,
nigga.
but the other party wants to do something to my family, and that's who I have to vote against. So my vote for Kamala is not wholly
VP
because
Harris.
no, I'm Kamala Harris, Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm not necessarily
Respect on that.
my support was for the party originally, but as I'm getting to know her and getting past the rhetoric that has now been disproven, I'm like, well, shit. I mean, she just as qualified as Barack, and I don't think Barack did a bad job.
She's more qualified than Barack.
And because she's been vice president first. Like she's had access to information that overwhelmed Barack his first 12 months of presidency. They, you know, admittedly. So that's what I'm saying. Like
10 years.
He aged incredibly in our presence. Like we watched the more.
Yeah.
And I'm saying that here she is more qualified, and we still questioning her when this other joker had 4 years and effed up a lot. Over a million people dead because he wanted to focus on closing borders in China, and it come turn out that COVID came in through New York from England. So when you really, because New York was one of the heaviest hit spaces. So that's what I'm saying. Like when you read black and white and you get the documented evidence, I'm not gonna sit up there and be like, oh, this is fake news because it's documented. You know, I can't prove what I think, but I believe. You know, that's not rational. That's just not rational. And I'm going to be on the rational side of history. I'm not going to be on the irrational side.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's all I got for this, man. I'm done.
Yeah.
I feel like we beat it without making it too one-sided. I mean, it's clear what side we were on, but I think that ultimately
it ain't clear. I voted for Sonny Perdue 1 year. But
do your fucking research. That's what he wants to say.
Yeah.
Do your fucking research before you talk on things. Or be a troll like
do
me.
your research. I mean, and to be honest with you, it's like it's time to boost education in this world that we live in.
Absolutely.
Like we can't. It's just too much. We stop thinking, bro, and Chat GPT is gonna make it even worse. So all I'm saying is we got to get back to thinking. We got to get back to actually reading, not just watching TV clips that they put on on there for you to see. I'm gonna say this to wrap. Fox News has clipped Kamala Harris up so much that they were actually shocked that she could string sentences together during the debate. And at the end of the debate, they all was just like, a smart, educated black woman. She ain't drunk, y'all. She know what the fuck's up. And she made it clear to them that she know what's going on. And it's just funny to me that even they were duped by the production of how they do news. They're like, she's not like that person that we've been portraying her to be.
Like, who was that?
When they think that you got a fake earpiece in your ear, you already know you whooped their ass. So with that being said, look, man. With that being said, all I gotta say is just pay attention to what's going on. Vote for you need to vote for. If it's within your family, don't let that shit break your family up. It is what it is. At the end of the day, you will be y'all all will be treated as niggas. Right. At the end of the day, you'll all be treated as niggas. So just know that. And so with that being said, I'm Sam Duke.
Unless you're white. person listening to this.
I ain't getting into that.
No, but they gonna get treated that way if they found out they supported it. So
That's true.
See how they treat you.
there's more than one side to this. There's
That's
more
true.
than one level to this. So, and I'm telling Mikhail, and I'm good.
I'm Warren P, and I'm great and good.
Or said, I ain't got no monkey in this fight. It is what it is. With that being said, we are out.
All right, peace. God bless.